Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our next live stream. I'll be your producer for this session. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer live. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Reactor channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our speakers for today. Thank you for joining.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Microsoft 365 Copilot Agent Playbook. This is a four-part series all about building agents for Copilot. Now, in today's episode, we're focused on skills, a capability coming soon to declarative agents. I'm Rabia, and I'm joined by my colleague Tomomi Imura. Hi.
Hey.
Now, each of these episodes will feature a guest from product, and this week we have Abram Jackson, PM Architect for Copilot Extensibility, joining us today. Hi, Abram.
Hey, great to be here. I am really excited about this session.
Awesome. So, Tomomi, I know that you have been working on something really fun that involved cats. So, over to you.
Alrighty. Hold on. All right. Thank you, Rabia. And hey, this is Tomomi Mura. And what I'm going to show you is this agent, a simple Learn agent that can explain anything from Microsoft Learn Docs because it's connected to its MCP server. And this agent typically answers with simple text in a chat. But what I really want to show you today is something called skills. So when the agent acquired some skills, they can do more than it usually does. So in this case, with a Kitty Explain skill, this agent can generate a cat meme style visuals, where it digests some complex concept into some fun explanation with cats. So let's take a look at. Alrighty. All right. So yeah, let's choose this simple Learn agent. So where you can ask anything about Microsoft related technology. So yeah, let's just try this agent as is without any skills. So let's see, explain responsible AI in a simple language. So it's supposed to just return this answer in, just a text. So that's how it's supposed to work. Yeah, it's simple and nice. But let's try the same question. Responsible AI, but by cats. So that's a trigger word. So now it triggers this Kitty Explain skill. And yeah, you can see the skills being used. And instead of just spitting out some text, now it's generating an image. Yay, ta-da! Now you can learn about responsible AI explained by cats. So that's a fun little example.
That's amazing. I'm sure this is more fun than just learning from text. But this is using skill behind the scenes. So, Abram, we would love to learn more about skills. Like, what is skills? What is the value of bringing skills to agent? All that thought process that you have when you build these features. So, over to you, Abram.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, so skills can be really powerful, and there's so many really neat things that you can do with them. So I'm going to give you some of the basics here so that you can get going yourself with some really powerful use cases. So the main thing to know about AI skills is they take a process that you have worked out or that you've developed or even that you've iterated on with AI and make it reusable, reusable and consistent. Now that's great for many reasons. Consistent is just once you get something to high quality, now it will be high quality every time in the future. You don't need to keep iterating on it. And so anytime that you can identify something that you've repeatedly do, you can now do it consistently with high quality. So that's a huge benefit of creating these skills in Copilot Chat. The other related things is, it's faster ramp up. So you can give these skills to your colleagues and they don't have to iterate and they can learn how you work or how your team works, and everybody can get that consistent value. Break that up into multiple pieces so that the AI only loads in functions that you really need. Now, in Copilot Chat, we're not charging for these skills, but there's not only dollars that are part of this, there's also speed that are part of this. So it is faster to load in just the part of the skills that you need. And they can also be optimized to run on cheaper models once you get them to high quality. Over time, as you build up these high quality skills, they compound. The value that you continue to gain gets better and better as you teach the AI how you operate. So through all of these AI skills, they take what you have figured out, what you've developed, what you've iterated on with the AI, make it reusable for yourself, make it consistent quality, and be able to share alongside your team. So you may ask, can't I use agent instructions for that? And yes, you can use agent instructions for that, but there's some differences between agent instructions and the skills that you put into an agent. The agent instructions, they are always in context. They're loaded every single time for every single conversation. And that's really helpful for how you want the agent to operate, how you want it to have its tone. But it's going to apply to all users and use cases of that agent, as opposed to a skill, which is pulled in only when this task is in scope. So a skill is a better place than agent instructions to hold those very detailed and specialized procedures. Because if you try to load that in at every time, you are spending the tokens, you're spending the space that you have in your instructions on all of the scenarios that you can do. So these skills, and we'll talk more about the format of them, but they can be very long and very deep and very involved. And we'll talk about the technology for that, which leads to really incredible power when they're developed really well. Okay, so the agent instructions, they can stay small and fast and control the tone or error handling or behavior patterns that you want your agent to operate in, while the skills add in more capabilities and processes and understanding that the agent can apply when necessary. Overall, the combination of the two gets the right knowledge, the right processes in the agent at the right time so that you get awesome results on a breadth of scenarios within your agent and all of its use cases. So they work really well together. We're very excited about bringing them together so that they can work like this for you. So if you think about how this skill actually operates a little bit more technically, there's the agent and then there's the skill. And like we said, the agent instructions, they're loaded in every time where there's the standing context. And the skills, right, are not loaded in every time. So the cost goes by the context, the information that's pulled in, how many reasoning loops or tool loops apply in this response, and just how much of it is AI tokens versus code which doesn't actually require any AI tokens. So all that to say, the design principle that I want you to have when you're adding AI skills to your AI agent is keep your AI agent prompt as small as possible. Focus on its behavior and its tone rather than the repeatable work that it is able to do. If you can combine these things, and this doesn't only apply to agents in Copilot Chat, this is for any AI agents that support skills, you're going to be more cost effective in both dollars, in turns, latency, and across the board, you will have a better experience. So let's talk a little bit more about what an AI skill actually is. We'll talk about how it technically works next, but first I want to describe to you the basics of what is here in the skill. So we have the instructions, the actions, and the knowledge. The skill instructions this is the information that is loaded in by the agent when appropriate and when necessary. So it includes the basics of the process, and it also points to these additional files that are contained within the skill. And there's two kinds of these. There's the actions, which can be like Python scripts and Bash scripts, and references to other things. And they can also be other markdown instruction files. So you can actually create a skill that is nested and has multiple levels of progressive disclosure, where only the whole path through the tree of instructions is followed, which ultimately allows you to create thousands of words, tens of thousands of words more. Really, the sky's the limit on how many instructions you could put into your skill without affecting the speed and runtime of the rest of your scenarios. The other thing that you can have in a skill is knowledge. So these are reference files that are also included in the skill. Maybe that is a template, maybe it is an image, or maybe it is just an additional rulebook. If you have that as an additional file, that file also can be referenced by the skill. Now, what's great about the skill is the progressive disclosure. Only those actions and knowledge that are relevant within this path of the skill, only those ones are loaded. So it stays fast, it stays consistent and reliable all of the time, and only uses this information when it's necessary. So if you think about how this works with a declarative agent in Copilot Chat, the declarative agent is responsible for the role, the tone, the safety, and always relevant rules, like what the behavior is, and of course the description and how it's operating generally and what its behavior should be. And it can load in dynamically multiple skills. If, for example, the expense policy is different than the incident triage is different than the contract review skill. You probably still want your agent to have a role, right? Where maybe it is, the IT help desk role, but then you can load in all of these other skills without worrying about bloating the agent and making it less effective. So this is a great pattern, even if you've got a larger development team, to distribute ownership of this agent by having different developers control these different skills. Since I said developers, we better start talking about how skills actually work technically. Okay, so as we've been saying, the skill packages up the know-how, right? Your processes and what you've worked out or developed into the capability that the agent loads on demand. We'll talk in a little bit more detail, but the skill starts off as a folder. Now, this is important to recognize. The skill is not just a markdown file. It's a folder that contains the markdown file and any resources and scripts. In the scenario that we're talking about today, this skill folder is packaged inside the declarative agent next to its tools and capability configuration. And as we've been saying, these skills are only brought in and used when appropriate. So let's talk about the implementation of these pieces. As I said, the skill is a folder, and this folder has exactly one markdown file at its root. And this is maybe a little bit not intuitive, but the folder name is actually the skill name. As you see here on the screen, this skill is named repair-lookup. And the markdown file in the root is always named skill.md. The capitalization doesn't really matter, but the skill MD has to be at the root, the top level of this folder. The markdown file also has a YAML property if the model can find that. Well, you can also see the reference and the scripts here. So the reference subfolder, that is any other files that you want to include. Here, maybe error codes and JSON. That's really helpful for in this kind of case where the model needs to look up the details. This is basically a database in this case, as well as the scripts, where this lookup script is a Python script perhaps that the AI will execute in order to look up an error code, for instance. There's a lot of power that you can do here. That script can be Python, JavaScript, Node.js, Bash, and there's a lot of different things that you can have this combination do. It's really flexible for anything that you want an AI and code to do on files in response to a user prompt. So it's hard to come up with scenarios that it really can't do, honestly. Okay, so you have the skill folder. Now, in a declarative agent, you just need to point to that folder. That is the basic idea. So this is a partial declarative agent manifest that's named repairs GPT. So we have a new property called agent_skills. That's an array, and it has objects that have the folder property that point to this folder. And that's all you need in the declarative agent. Now what that means is this folder is the reusable part. The declarative agent can just point to it. And you can put that folder into another agent, and another agent can point to a copy of that folder. So that folder, and it's often passed around as a zip file, can be used across many of your agents if relevant. So you need all of your skills to be pointed at here. Without this, the declarative agent doesn't know that it has those skills. It won't be loaded in and it won't be made available to the model. But that's all you really need to do. You can take that skill folder, which you've developed or your peer has developed or you have found and edited from online, and you just add it to your app package and point to it within your declarative agent manifest. That's all that you need to do in order to implement these skills. The other side of skills is referring to tools. We see this become very powerful when they are pointing at other tools that are also in the declarative agent. And they can point to any tools that are available to the AI that's running in the declarative agent, such as API plugins and MCP servers. Right? These are plugins that you add to your declarative agent for any web endpoint that runs OpenAPI, any MCP server. You can add these into the agents. Then your skill refers to these other tools. So you may have skill instructions that say, use the repairs MCP server and a certain function in order to. When the model loads in those instructions, then it knows how to refer and use the tool that it separately has. So that's the key thing I want you to remember. The skill doesn't contain the tools. And in fact, the skill execution doesn't have web access on its own. The agent contains the skill that refers to the tools that the agent also has. It can also support agent-to-agent or connected agents and worker agents that are available in the declarative agent. It can also refer to capabilities that the declarative agent has. So your skill can describe how to search a SharePoint folder or what structured properties to pull out of a file. So let me demo a skill that is referring to an available tool in the declarative agent. So this is an agent that I've developed called Image Magic. And what I've done with this agent is very short instructions and very detailed skills. I've got multiple skills here about different ways to generate images. So I'm going to create a photo booth with a set of images with this photo of Rabia and this photo of me.
Oh no.
So I'm not keeping. We'll see what kind of results we have here, Rabia. So I'm not giving very detailed instructions here as a user prompt.
Oh,
And in
actually,
fact, that,
sorry, Abram, your screen hasn't gone to your demo. It's still on the PowerPoint.
oh,
Um,
okay. Let's see.
yeah. Thank you.
Mm, we are looking at, we're having a problem here. All right. Are we good? Okay, I think we're good. Okay, good. All right, so I gave a very simple prompt here. Hopefully these photos are not too embarrassing of Rabia and I. But the agent loaded in this skill, found its very detailed instructions, did a great job of matching us. This actually looks, pretty good. Okay. Maybe a small bit embarrassing for this photo booth. We better get back to the presentation.
Yeah, we should. Oh my God. I look a lot more leaner, so I'm happy. Oh, that's
All right.
great.
So that's why you want to use skills. This is super powerful when they're added into agents. You get a lot of flexibility. But what you're here for is to hear from Rabia and how you can actually build and use these skills yourself.
Yes, thank you, Aram. I appreciate it because I know I mean, you were a bit sick today, so today morning. So this deep dive really helped. I felt like you have explained the entirety of skills to everyone. Like, and skills is not a very niche topic. It's like common, but it's now in agents. But you've actually explained what it is. So thank you for that. Now back to how to build as a developer. We have two options at the moment, and it's coming. It's coming soon, so it's not readily available for you. You might not be seeing it in your tools or in your chat experience, but we have Agent Builder, which is basically you on your Copilot chat experience, and you can go ahead and create an agent either through prompt, and then from there you can add the skills. And I'll show the demo, but I'm just giving you these two different options where the skills would show up. And then there is Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit, which is a VS Code extension that you can go ahead and install. And from there also, you will be able to add skills. So let me go ahead and show you the demo. All right, I'll show you the Agent Toolkit first. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I hope this is clear now. Okay, cool. So I already have M365 Agents Toolkit installed in my VS Code. I can go ahead and create a new agent and select Declarative Agent. And those of you who've already used ATK Agents Toolkit, you would be familiar with this wizard. And in here, you might have an option saying add an agent skill. And what this does is it will go ahead and create a sample skill for your agent. So I'm just going to say test kitty agent. And then it opens up with the template. And we just zoom in again. The app package that Abram was referring to would have the skills already, like the sample skill already in there. So this is the folder Abram was talking about, and then there's a skill file, and you can go ahead and add the references, the scripts, whatever you want, but then you already have a template from where you can start. And further, if you want to add more skills, this toolkit would also enable you to do that by just adding skills. So you can have multiple skills, I believe, right? Abram will come to that question. But if you want to add more skills, you can go ahead and add here. You could either create like brand new files, again, using the template, or you could point to your existing skills. So if you've downloaded skills from online or something that you want to bring into your agent, you could do that as well. Now, this is the pro code approach. where you want to work with the skills file and your manifest file, etc., and you'd like to edit them. But then there is the other option, which is the agent builder. So let me just open up my Copilot chat. I'll just zoom again a bit. So if you go to agents, create an agent. So this is the agent builder experience that you, if you've used it, you probably know. You could go ahead and, put a prompt in to create an agent, or you could skip directly to the agent builder experience. So just zoom out a bit, it's too much. So here you can add all your instructions, and then you have the skills area. So you could go ahead and add skills, just like you could upload this zip file that has the skill.md and the reference file, or you can go ahead and just prompt and create a skill right away from here. So these are the two options that will be available soon, and Abraham will talk about when they're coming or whatever, what the plan is, the roadmap, etc. But this is how your experience would look like once it's available. So that's all about the tooling part. So maybe we can go ahead and go to my slide again. Yep, so that's done. I just want to quickly, before we go to the Q&A, I want to quickly invite everyone to go ahead and register for the series if you haven't. Because this video would also be on demand and available in the Reactor channel. So there is an upcoming episode. So it will be every week you have one episode for 4 consecutive weeks. And the next episode is about context with Work IQ, and we'll have Tomomi and Sebastian Leverett on this one. So please go ahead and register if you haven't. But I think right now we would move on to the Q&A, which will be the most interesting bit of this session. Awesome. Okay, Abraham, are you ready for the questions? And we can have a nice conversation.
Yes.
Okay. We can stop sharing the screen and just have all 3 of us, I guess. Yeah. Tomomi, do you want to start with the first question for Abraham?
Sure. Let me see. Hold on a second. All right, this one. How exactly does Copilot decide a skill is relevant enough to load?
Yeah, so how does Copilot recognize that a skill is relevant and loaded? So you saw in Rabia's Agents Toolkit version of the demo that there is a name and a description property that are at the top of the agent. So when the AI executes, when the agent executes, you get the system prompt, the agent instructions, and also we tell the model about every skill by giving it the name and description. So if you have 10 skills in your agent, the agent on every turn knows that the skills exist. And it hasn't read their content yet, but it knows that it can. So it takes the user prompt, and if you ask for a cat explainer, it will see that it has a skill relevant to using cats to explain a concept. And so it will take that, it'll see the name and description, and it will say, okay, I'm going to go read that skill, the skill with this name, cat explainer. And then the contents of that skill file, that markdown file, are then loaded in. And the AI reads all of the tokens of that markdown file. And of course, from there, it can then do more things, like read a referenced file. But that's how it works. The agent always sees the name and description of every skill, and then the AI decides whether to read that skill. So you can influence that by the skill name and description, but also in your agent instructions. And this is a good idea, that while the description already says how to use when and how to use the skill, your agent instructions can also give broader guidance about when skills should be used generally. So you get the combination. If you are the agent developer and the skill developer, you get to use the combination of those as instructions to the AI.
Amazing.
Cool.
We have a lot of questions, by the way, from folks. So this one here, Abraham, it's like a best practice was to use all the 8,000 characters of the agent instruction. So the way they have mentioned is that you need to keep the instruction short and include tone, etc., in the agent instruction, and then use skills for other details. Is that the right approach?
Yeah, so I mentioned this during the discussion, right? And there's an advantage in shorter instructions. They can be faster and also using less tokens. If you're in a service, that's where you're paying for the tokens. So I wouldn't say necessarily that it's a goal to make the agent instructions as short as possible. But the guidance that I used to give about using every character of those agent instructions was that so you can pack in as many different capabilities as possible, or error handling or tone, and all of it is an advantage. But now you can get that same advantage without paying the penalty of the tokens on every single prompt. So as much of that as you can move into separate skills that are only loaded for specific scenarios, it's even better. So still, you should have the combination of agent instructions and skills should still be quite large because there's an incredible amount a single agent can do. But much of that largeness should be in the skills that are only loaded in dynamically.
Yeah, I hope that makes sense to the person who asked. It did to me, and obviously,
Yeah, because it goes only when you need it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So we have another question, and this is about the GA part. Like, when is it going to go GA in Copilot, especially on the agent builder side?
Sure. Yeah. So the experience Rabia showed you. So we have this in preview. That's why we can show you the live code of this thing working. But it's not quite available yet. On this, making sure they work great always. And so we are probably about 3 weeks out or so from being able to have this available for everybody. That's approximate. This is not a commitment of a date yet, but I do want to make sure everybody can see that this is coming, what it's going to look like, and what power it will give you.
Mm. Oh, there is another question, which is interesting because Tomomi, you had a similar question on the licensing part and the cost. So it's like, what license do I need for skills? Do I need separate license? Or so there's a question asking, what's the cost credit like? Is it similar to co-work?
Yeah. Thank you, Simon Nallen. I don't know how to pronounce your handle. So in Copilot Chat, declarative agents and agent builder agents that produce declarative agents, they don't cost. What you don't need consumption credits. They're not going to apply consumption. And even more than that, you don't actually need the Copilot SKU. You don't need Microsoft 365 Copilot SKU in order to use Agent Builder or to use skills within Agent Builder. Now, you are limited from referencing SharePoint and Teams and email if you don't have the Copilot license. But there's no charge for the skills, and the execution of those skills in chat don't cost anything as well. We're not doing consumption with this one. It's going to be included.
Cool. There was a question, what is an agent? Which is very important because we're talking about agents. This is an agent playbook series, and I think we totally missed explaining agent, and I probably me and Tomomi should have added that, but we could talk about agents, right? Agents are like, you have the whole Copilot chat experience, but when you want very focused, context-driven experiences to get responses back on your focused business workflows, then you create an agent within Copilot. So that is an agent. And that is what this series is also about. Like all the 4 series, we're trying to understand the agents a bit better. We will definitely be bringing in features that are upcoming, like what Abraham showed us today as skills. But we will still go back to, what an agent is. It's knowledge, it's instruction, it's Abraham just showed us, like, it's MCP server connections, it's connectors, all these stuff that are focused on one particular task that you want Copilot to do, you do it with an agent. So yeah, we should have started with that. Cool. So I hope that's answered. And okay, can I share skills in the org?
So sharing skills works like sharing other files. So it's best practice to have these skills in OneDrive or in SharePoint. Or if you're in ProDev, right, you probably
Oh, I
Uh-oh.
think we lost Abraham.
Oh, I think I'm
Back.
back. Hopefully I'm back. Sorry,
Back.
momentary network thing. Yeah. So you can. It's best practice to have this file in SharePoint, and then to control access through SharePoint sharing is what I'd recommend right now, just like sharing a Word document.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't make sense to put them in one. Is there a way for us to put them in OneDrive and reference in Procode? Maybe in future. Is that something that we would be on the roadmap or something, Ibrahim, or it has to be in the manifest?
Yeah. They do have to be in the manifest, and that's because of how skills work.
The folder, yeah.
Or because they've got to be in the app package. And you can imagine, while a markdown file, like we can probably, play games with that. Once you start adding references and scripts, right, it becomes a lot harder to think about them in that way. If you've got, you can have entire code projects, millions of lines of code contained within the script assets. And it works great, and it can be incredibly powerful. But now you're in this world where you definitely want to be thinking about versions and making sure that your agent is consistent and that downstream changes aren't affecting you. So as skills get more and more powerful, you want to treat them, more in the pro code kind of way.
Yeah, and that brings me back to another question. We'll come to the questions in the chat. How many skills can I have at one point for an agent?
We've set the limit to 20 skills for now. So you can put in 20 different skill packages. Remember, each one of these skills can point to other files, which can be more markdown instruction files. They can be template documents, JSON databases, CSVs, and code files. So each one of those 20 skills can be quite broad itself.
Okay, that's cool.
But let me know if you have a scenario where you need 21 or 50 skills inside an agent, and we'll see what we can do.
Yes, we need to know in the chat. And we also probably, it will be nice to get an idea of what the scenario is where you need 21.
I want to know. 20 is plenty.
Yeah.
What's next?
We're looking for the questions. There is a lot, by the way. This is good because this is real engagement. I feel like this audience we have here is really good. So, Mommy, you're looking into something, so you're gonna go next.
Let's see. How do skills interact with MCP servers, API plugins, and agent instructions at runtime?
Which one is that?
Yeah. So how do skills interact with the other tools that are in an agent? So it's important to remember that the skills, they don't have internet access. They can't themselves do anything with your tools. But what they can do is describe to the agent how to use its other tools. So if you think about this, right, the way that a modern AI chat or a declarative agent works is it goes through loops. And so it will output some thinking tokens, and then it will output a tool call like reads a skill, right? And then it will get the content of that skill file. Then it will reason more. And then it might realize I need to call this MCP server and this MCP server tool. And we'll output the tool call instructions. So but before you get to that tool call, before the AI gets to that tool call, what it's using is as context all of the system prompt, all of the developer prompt, all of the conversation history, all of its current reasoning tokens, the skill files that it read, And the user prompt, if I didn't mention that already, all of that influences whether to call this MCP server tool. This is actually a very powerful pattern where the MCP server tools, especially if they're somebody else's MCP server, then you don't control their tool names. And so something needs to tell your agent when it should use these tools, in what scenarios, how to use them, and what processes to use them. And you can put that in the agent instructions. It's going to call the tools all the time. But more likely, you want to put those instructions in a skill. So they're only loaded in to teach the AI how to use that MCP server for this scenario. The combination of the two gets really powerful. And as you start doing this, you'll see how much stronger and useful MCP servers, OpenAPI plugins, other kinds of plugins are in your declarative agent.
Right. That's a really good point, because you have the dynamic discovery tools and everything. It's really hard for at least from a developer point of view. What does that definition look like for these tools? When does it get invoked? These are the kind of things that are a bit blurred right now. So if you have a skill, you can always say, okay, use this tool for this particular prompt or something like that. Does that make sense, Abraham?
Yeah. Right. So you think about them, the tools that you add into your agent, whether they're built-in capabilities like clicking on a SharePoint site in Agent Builder, right? Or they're tools like an OpenAPI plugin. In either case, those tools are always available to the agent, and the agent may use them, right, for any possible scenario. The skills can, describe what those scenarios are and how to execute them, either with AI instructions, the skill script files, or the other tools that the agent has permanent access to.
Brilliant. Okay, so we have got so many questions. This is great. Someone's asking about Bob G. Is asking about permissions. What permissions does it have, and does it run under the user's identity?
No, great question, Bob. So remember that this skill, if it's just instructions, it's instructions that the declarative agent has. So it's running in the same context as the declarative agent, which, as you may know, is the user's context in Copilot. So the skill doesn't execute so much, right? It's actually just instructions for the agent, and the agent executes. So the skill itself doesn't have access to do anything. In fact, it doesn't do anything for an instruction skill or for assets. Now, skill scripts are a little bit of a special case where the skill is actually executing some code. Some actual thing happens. What we do for a skill script is we create a container. We copy in any input files that the AI believes the container needs. We copy in the scripts that are in the skill. And then we put another AI in the container and give it instructions. Or rather, let me restate that. The declarative agent submits a bash command to execute this script on this input file. And then we copy any output files back into the declarative agent, or potentially into the user context. So that inner container is actually doing real code things, but it does not have internet access. It doesn't have access to anything, actually, right? It's a fully locked container. The only thing it can access is what the declarative agent copies in, and whatever commands the declarative agent gives. And the only way it can get information out is it produces a file that's copied back out, or the system out. So the container doesn't have access to anything. Overall, the skill only influences the access that the declarative agent has, which is, of course, the same as the user's access in Copilot chat, just the files this user has access to. Right. Maybe that was a little bit complicated. The short answer is the skills can't access anything. The declarative agent does.
Right. It's sold to the agent. Cool. Awesome. So we have another question. Are the business skills hosted in Dataverse and served via an MCP going GA soon? This seems a better way to reuse skills.
So The business skills in Dataverse, they are pretty cool. The idea there is a little bit different than skills in declarative agents. And I will say I don't work on the business skills directly, but let me share a little bit about at least how I think about them. So the skills we've been talking about are inside a declarative agent, right? And so the user is expressing an intent to be in this area and this scope of work and this set of business processes, then the skills are loaded in. Dataverse skills, and also actually the skill markdown files that are in SharePoint and OneDrive, are a little bit different. So they're to the agent, like this.
Oh, we lost Abram again.
Oh, come back.
While he's away, I can answer one of the questions here. It's about skill feature in Agent Builder. Like Abraham mentioned, it's gonna roll out in 3 weeks time, so it's not there yet. So whatever you saw in our demo, it's because we are on private preview and we are running these scripts to make that work. But it will be rolling out in 3 weeks time. So that's the reason why when you go to an agent builder, you will not see the skill feature yet. So that's Corelli. So let's skip through all the other questions. Meanwhile, yeah, absolutely. Someone mentioned that this is going to give more power to the agent builder. Yeah, that's true. Like if we can have skills attached to the agent, I mean, the agent builder is limited with few options, right? You have options, but then you don't have a lot of options. But if you have a skill, then that can be added into agent builder, and the declarative agent created using agent builder becomes a bit more powerful. So yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and you should be able to share your skills on the client as well, right? So
Yeah. Oh,
it'll be
Abram,
powerful.
you're back.
Okay.
We got
Sorry
two-
about that.
No, that's okay. You can continue with the business skill thought process. We answered two questions while you were away. Not two, just one, and then we have thought about something as well together. But yeah,
All
over
right.
to you, Abram, on the business skills stuff.
Okay, so business skills. So while we've been talking about skills that are associated to the agent, the business skills are a little bit different because they are skills that are attached to a database or an application. And so they work with any agent. Any AI is intended, when it works with that kind of data, to load in that skill. Now, this is a little bit different from these tool-focused or scenario-focused or persona-focused skills that are in a declarative agent, right? In the declarative agent skills case, these skills are only used for this agent when the user is doing this kind of thing, maybe IT help desk, right? The skills in Dataverse, right? They are intended to be shared and attached to your business operations processes and databases in Dataverse and similar kinds of places, so that any AI that ever interacts with that data knows about the data. So the simple way that I think about it is often the skills in a declarative agent are often tool describing skills, where they describe the Open API or the MCP server, or even the code assets and references that the skill has for the scenarios in the declarative agents. They're describing the tools and how to use the tools for this scenario. Meanwhile, the Dataverse and the business skills are describing the data and how to use this data. And both have quite a bit of advantage. You also see skills in SharePoint working similarly. They describe that data. If you have requests for proposals of a certain format in a certain folder, then your skill can refer to here are the different properties that are available on all of the files here in the folder. This is what's authoritative. This is, and you can have any AI that interacts with that folder read the skills. So both of these things are very relevant. You actually see the same pattern in coding agents, and so I suspect it's durable. You've got user profile skills, agent skills, and also file folder skills.
Right. There's a question on the governance and best practices for skills, which is good because, when you are going to position and start thinking about adding skills, it's good to have that kind of guidance early on. Like what are the different kinds of things that you think would be useful for the audience, before they even start to design skills for their agents?
Sure. So we think about different levels of the extensibility in Copilot. So we have the agent builder that's available for all users. And the idea for agent builder is that there's very low risk in having users create and use these agents. And in fact, they can't do anything that you couldn't already do in business chat if you typed out a long enough prompt. Right? So they don't actually expose the surface anymore, although they still end up being quite powerful. So those we want all users to be able to create freely, support users figuring out for themselves how to best apply AI for themselves. We see this is really great practice for AI adoption at a company, right? Is to enable all of your users to be able to extend and improve their own AI experience. As you move up towards Copilot Studio, that is a lot more, it's more powerful and also increases risk some, because it can create new connections to external services. And so you open up a potential door, a potential risk to prompt injection, cross-section, data exfiltration. And so there's some risk that's important to manage in Copilot Studio. And so skills in Copilot Studio, just like MCP servers, agents, they allow for that stronger level of governance. You can decide which users have access, which connectors have access, which skills are allowed. And that scales all the way up to pro code, where things are published into the tenant catalog, and then you've got full control over what's available, what users. And so we view this as a ladder. Down at Agent Builder, our priority is that all users can enhance their own experience. Up through Copilot Studio and pro code, then because there's more risk, there's a lot more controls and governance available.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone did mention, how Agent Builder is going to be a bit more powerful when skills come in, because they could do so much more than what they can right now with the Agent Builder. So yeah, that looks like a right direction. And there were questions around, I think this is sort of like a feedback, so it's David asking about Copilot Studio Harness can update their skills by itself or improve continuously. Something to think about in the future. Abram, is that something that you are thinking?
Well, actually, Rabia, the experience you showed in Agent Builder, right, where you can upload a skill package or you can describe one in natural language.
Yeah.
So you can describe a skill in there with natural language. And in the future, as models get better, right, you can open that agent back up and say improve instructions, as the models get better, for instance.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a holy grail of the AI just gets better over time and continuously learns. And in some narrow circumstances, this can work, but they're fairly narrow circumstances at this point. So we want to set the framework, prepare the ground for continuous learning of this kind, where the skills get better over time. For now, you'll have to rely on human update. However, we've got another another agent builder feature coming up where you can share edit privileges to an agent. So you can have your entire team work on the same agent and everybody add skills or improve the skills as they find better ways to use them. So it's human driven for the most part now with AI assistance. One day, perhaps we can be AI driven. We're not quite there yet in technology.
Thanks for keeping it honest, Abram. I really appreciate, we've got a few more minutes, but I already see in chat someone saying they appreciate you for spelling out the rewards and the risk, this is why it's a big takeaway for me and Tomomi as well, because this is a real deep dive, like this video. So thank you so much and appreciate it. We're not finishing yet because I'm just looking for any other questions. It looks like we have answered most of them. So this is really, really appreciated, Abram. The only thing is we probably are, again, looking into the future. We might have labs, we might have blogs once we land this whole skills in the tenant. So I'm just gonna ask people to go ahead and check out our Copilot Developer Camp, which is where our labs will land for skills, both for Agent Builder as well as for ProCode with the ProCode tool like Agent Toolkit. So I appreciate everyone if they could go ahead and check it out. Again, coming back to the CDA is please go ahead and register for this series because there's going to be 3 other episodes coming up. So Momi, you want to talk a bit about your next episode? Just it's a tiny little blurb.
Okay, well, I have only 1 week to prepare. I'm not quite done, but it's going to be about work IQ. Yeah.
That's right. You're
And I'm going to focus on some developer tools around
yes.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Awesome. So that was brilliant. Any other last words, Abram, to Momi before we wrap up?
Maybe some feature request.
Oh no.
Or maybe not. Already too busy.
No. But yeah.
Well, I'm so excited to get skills out for everybody here in Declarative Agents. They make Declarative Agents so powerful. I'm so glad that we get to have them in Agent Builder and available for all of our users. So there's real power here for users to improve their experience. And of course, through ProCode as well, if you're a professional developer, definitely be looking hard at skills. You'll be missing out if you're not using them for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, I think we can wrap up.
Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you at the next one. Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand,